I'm your host, Loren Meadows of GatorBaitMedia.com with the best shoe game in the Gator media. And tonight we ask you, has the countdown to the inevitable begun, or can the Gators right the ship and go down to the Hard Rock and get a win? Rob Browne of SEC Sidelines joins us to put a bow on the LSU game. What is going on with DJ Lagway? Our X and O's analyst, James DiVirgilio of the Gator Nation Football Podcast, joins us to break down the Florida offense and what DJ Lagway needs to do better to get the train back on the tracks this season. If this is the last stand of Billy Napier, what can he do to remain in Gainesville? How many wins will it take? And right now, where does he rank among current SEC coaches? Zach Goodall of Swamp 247 joins the show to help us break it all down. And like we always do about this time, Kicks of the Week is in the building, as well as Hyper Hive at it. The Sidelines team would like to thank our sponsors, Meldon Law and Titan MRI and Imaging. Subscribe to the Lowdown with Loren Meadows on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our partner shows, including the Buddy Martin Show, SEC Sidelines on the SidelinesLIVE Network, and follow yours truly on Instagram, Ohio Gator for Life, and X at Real Ohio Gator. Let's get to it. So around 8:48 tonight, we got a little, unfortunately, some news about Coach Jaloo, who was suspended, I guess, by Florida or Southeastern Conference and University of Florida jointly announced a 3-game suspension of associate head football coach and running backs coach at Florida, Jaloo, basically talking about his conduct, inability or unacceptable behavior to de-escalate the suspension. Commissioner Greg Sankey said this suspension is appropriate, and any future misconduct of Jaloo will result in more severe disciplinary action. The quote from Jaloo said, "I first would like to apologize to both Florida and LSU universities, their team, staffs, and fans. I also sincerely apologize to the young athlete and his family. On Saturday, I reacted in a manner I'm not proud of. There's no excuse for my behavior, and I take full responsibility for my actions. In this game, emotional situations occur and bad reactions happen. I regret my reaction and commit to using this moment to strengthen my emotional intelligence. I know more is expected of us as coaches, and I commit to living up to that expectation. I believe growth is in ownership and learning from the good and the bad. I intend to use this situation as a teachable moment, not only for myself, but for those I impact. Again, I offer my sincerest apologies to both institutions and the staffs and families involved." Scott Strickland says, "Jabbar has consistently been an upstanding member of our staff, and I commend him for accepting responsibility in the situation. We will continue to support him as he works to meet the high standards we set for our program." And Billy Napier, head coach, said, "Coach Jaloo's actions prior to our game against LSU are not up to the standard of our program. Coach Jaloo is a man of character and has taken full responsibility for his actions. I believe Coach Jaloo will learn from this experience and be better for it." Now, I want to make it clear that I'm also somebody who has a strong respect for Coach Jaloo. I've always found him to be an upstanding guy, family man, somebody who goes out of their way to speak to you, engage you. And, people make mistakes. I do not want this to necessarily be, this is not an intention of me or anybody affiliated with this show to pile on the football team. We just report the news, and that's news. But I want to make it clear from me personally, I've always found Coach Jaloo to be a great teacher of young men, and people make mistakes, and that's where we're going to leave it. So he will miss the next 3 games. He will be sorely missed, both as a coach and as a person, as someone of a strong motivator for this football team, and that's where we're going to leave it. So I'm glad that Coach Jaloo is taking responsibility. I'm sure he will rebound from this. Been in the game a long time, and that's where we'll go. So we'll leave it at that. And best of luck to him, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But with that, we're bringing Rob Browne of SEC Sidelines. How you doing, Rob?
Great. Just looking at the SEC numbers guy. want to get some people fired up. Strength of schedule of all ranked Big Ten teams. Ohio State 49th, Penn State 134th, Oregon 99, Illinois 101, Indiana 117, Michigan 30. Missouri has the easiest strength of schedule in the SEC at 92nd. They would rank 8th out of 18 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, it's a murderer's row. And I heard a comment the other day. I can't remember who it was, but maybe is it Mike Morgan was on Shane Matthews' show, and he was talking about he doesn't expect anybody from the SEC to go undefeated, if not with one loss. Just the level of talent in this in this conference, the schedules. I mean, I was asking somebody the other day. I said, okay, yeah, Florida has a tough schedule, but would you swap out Kentucky, for, or let's say you didn't play, you have to play Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. Well, if you swap them out, you got to play South Carolina. You swap somebody else out, you got to play Arkansas. You got to play. I mean, it's just, you take one out, you put the other one in. I mean, it's just, I mean, would you play Vanderbilt now? I mean, it's come to that point with the transfer portal and so much parity. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And, I mean, you look at Saturday night, the Florida Gators didn't play a great game of football. I didn't think they had a really good, game plan offensively. And we'll have James DiVirgilio on here in a minute to talk about it. But I want to discuss something from a coaching standpoint. And, we're going to start doing this a little bit more, Rob. 5 interceptions, Rob. And I'm a person that DJ Lagway, to me, has earned the right to stay in again. A lot of people were saying, well, why didn't they take him out? Spurrier would have took him out, all those things. Well, times are different. You don't have a guy you can just go to and pull the hook. And our friend of the show, Shane Matthews, now, like he said, all interceptions are not the same. And there were some really bad throws and really bad. But I don't think DJ Lagway learns from this unless he stews in it. Just my opinion. And when you got a guy that is definitely your guy, there has been no doubt that DJ Lagway is a starting quarterback of this football team since Graham Mertz went down. It wasn't a competition in the spring. It wasn't a competition in the fall. You let him stew in it. And he's got to live with that and hopefully learn from it and become a better football player. But I had no problem with Billy Napier leaving him. I mean, the 5th interception was the end, but I had no problem with him leaving him in there after the 2nd or 3rd, because you and I both know he could have hit a big one, and then they're back in the football game and all is forgiven. I mean, he played bad, but I think in the growth, you have to let a young man who is going to be your quarterback for the foreseeable future, you let him stew in it.
Well, and don't stay, upset or frustrated too long, because you've got the next day of practice, and that sets the tone for the next week. I do think that because of the portal, you don't have a Terry Dean on the bench. You don't have backups like you used to have, and you got to be tough on them. But throwing 5 interceptions, I've been so wrong on Florida. I connected the dots and thought they'd win 10. I don't know if you made a change at quarterback, how fragile the locker room is. Mm-hmm. That's a good question. And then, but the problems, what I'm seeing, and far more than I, as does Brendan, but you're seeing mistakes, and I hear about them, I watch them, that were made in year 1, 2, and 3, in year 4.
Right.
You can't allow that. It starts at the top. You're getting the big money. Starts with you.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to talk about with DJ Lagway, it came out, and I think this is very unfair, and I'm going to go by my own experience, to say that DJ Lagway is no longer liked in the locker room because of his NIL money and special treatment. Hey, guys, let's face it. Every quarterback gets special treatment. At every level, the quarterback is the man. So that's number one. But number two, I spend a lot of time with a few of the guys that block for Lagway, and I've spoken to coaches on the staff. That has never been, I've never observed that from him. never, struck me as somebody who was bigger than the team, sought out, treatment. But it's like all of a sudden we were sculpting, we were getting the cast ready for the statue. Remember, Rob?
Yeah.
In the winter and the spring, we were getting the statue ready. And now all of a sudden, DJ Lagway is no longer liked by the team. And the person that put that out there is particularly close to the program. And I'm going to say it, and I'd say it to their face. I think it's extremely reckless and unfair to that young man, his family, and essentially his teammates, to put them in a situation where they is painted either A, not liking their quarterback, or B, being jealous of him. And, we're going to talk about his play. But I think when you start looking at those kind of things, you're talking about his character as an individual. And I think you run the risk of getting into some bad things. So those are two things I wanted to touch on before we bring James in. And I'll let you.
Well, number one, you've got to be tough on the kids. I do not buy this narrative. You can't coach them today like you did 10, 20 years ago. Yeah, you can. The kids want it. They are tired of being told they're not tough. That's an insult to them. So you got to be tough on them, and you got to hold people accountable. And I think the reason why Georgia was my pick to play Alabama for the SEC championship this year is because of that alpha male culture that Kirby has at Georgia. And Gunnar Stockton, man, he made that throw the other day. He's just a gritty, tough player. Who is behind him? Who's behind Lagway? You name me a team that, maybe right now for this semester, Deuce Knights at Auburn. Oh, he's saying all the right things. If he doesn't get on the field much this year, he'll be gone. I mean,
right. Yeah. You don't keep
problem.
A guy. Like you said, there is no Terry Dean. There is nobody. There's no Doug Johnson to go back and forth. And yes, Tramel Jones is the backup. I think Coach Napier got offended by someone talking about the other two quarterbacks, which maybe it's frustration or whatever, but I thought it was a decent enough question. But, with Tramel Jones, he's not DJ Lagway, and they could have put Tramel Jones in. He could have threw 2 picks, and he still got 5 picks. And then what? Well, at least he threw him in there. I mean, it's you let Lagway live in it and learn from it. And to break that down a little bit more, we'll bring in our X and O's analyst, James DiVirgilio of the Gator Nation Football Podcast. Does a great job of breaking things down. He's kind of been in the lab for the last couple of days. I couldn't get with him, but here he is to join us. Been breaking it down. Had a lot to undress, I'm sure, from the LSU game. But James, how you doing?
No, I'm doing very well. How are you guys doing?
Appreciate you joining us, man. As always, you do a great job. We talked about things after the USF game. You looked at DJ Lagway, the footwork, some of the reads and things like that. And when I spoke with some people, and obviously I don't break it down like you do, but just when you're looking at it, to me, it was a bad combination of bad play and bad plays, if you understand what I mean. And I mean by play design, just some things that didn't make sense. So, in your view, what did you see and what were you able to bring out on your podcast this week?
Yeah, I definitely put a full film review out there, breaking down all of DJ's interceptions. There's a full film review of all the plays that exist out there. And obviously, I've watched every single play on the All-22 film that Napier's had here at Florida. Every single one, multiple times, every game, every year. And of course, it's been my conclusion for quite some time that the passing offense that we run here at Florida is not a good one. It is not quarterback friendly. There are not a lot of easy throws. That doesn't mean the quarterback doesn't have responsibility to try to do the best they can in the system. But whether it was AR or Mertz or now DJ, there have not been a lot of easy throws. It's just not an offense that does, I think, what good offenses do, which is try to 2-on-1 players and essentially really try to take the job of the defense, right? If you're in a cover 2, and I know what your job is. I want to beat your cover 2 so that your own coach goes back and says, hey, all of you did the exact great job you were supposed to do in cover 2. And they beat that play because they ran a better play. And that's on me. I need to put you in a better play. And I just think Billy Napier does not coach that way. You can see it on film consistently. He's more of the Swiss Army knife type of, here's my play. It works against 3 or 4 different coverages. Find the one route that's often suboptimal. With all that being said, though, DJ Lagway has undergone a stunning regression. In the 12 years I've covered Florida, I have never seen a quarterback regress like DJ Lagway has from year 1 to year 2. It is absolutely stunning. What he put on film versus LSU was stuff that your freshman or sophomore in high school, if you're coaching him, you would be disappointed in. From footwork to premeditating where the ball is going, to throwing into obvious pre-snap coverages that stay the same into post-snap stuff. I mean, a stunning regression is the only way to describe this. And we said last week, we're saying again this week, I don't think he finds his way out of this anytime soon. It's too far right now for him to just snap back into it. But again, a good offensive coordinator ultimately would find ways to get him into the game, run the ball more, find safe throws, find easier reads, put him into looks that work versus certain coverages, run things he ran in high school. And I'll end my monologue with this. 80% of the plays DJ Lagway ran in high school came out of the empty formation, 80%. His high school team didn't even use a tight end. They didn't even have a tight end. So Billy's offense couldn't be more different than what Lagway's comfortable with. I think now would be the time to go to something that he's very comfortable with as much as he possibly could. There's no way we're going to do that. Billy's offense is the same with AR and Mertz and Lagway. He's not changing it. And I think for DJ, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Now, when you talk about the regression, what if you could pinpoint maybe 1 to 2? I mean, it's a lot, but let's go 1 to 2. 1 to 2 things where the people that are, and like I said, they were building the bronze statue. I mean, you live here too. We were seeing, I mean, they were casting it to kind of make some more room in the Heisman Plaza for DJ Lagway. And all of a sudden you see the memes and things like that. But from a football standpoint, what are the 2 things that stick out to you about this regression? What is the 2?
Yeah, the 2 main ones are just footwork and pocket presence. That seems like it's a small thing, but it's not, right? Quarterbacks need to keep their eyes down the field. They need to be able to stay on platform. They need to be able to drive through their throw. Otherwise, they're going to throw inaccurately. So all of his footwork, all of the basic fundamental skills, which you'll typically watch a quarterback play on film and say, these are repeatable things. Because he keeps doing this, he's going to be good. He moves in the pocket well. His eyes are downfield well. He keeps his feet underneath him. He repivots and resets, right? Those are basic skills you have to have. The second, the bigger and more important thing, of course, though, is his inability to read the football field right now. The game is moving very fast for him. He seemingly is throwing hopeful throws rather than confident throws. And as any quarterback will tell you, when you come out of the huddle and you read the defense and you get your pre-snap diagnosis, you want to already know where the ball is going to go, right? Tom Brady's talked a lot about this. On the majority of his throws, he knew exactly where the ball was going before he even threw it. It's much harder when you get it wrong for any quarterback. But DJ, pre-snap, doesn't know what he's going to do. So he's premeditating. I'm going to throw this slant. I'm going to get it to this guy. And that is a total regression. That's a level 0 quarterbacking mindset. And so those 2 things, footwork and inability to read the field, when he displayed at times really high level skills in both of those areas last year, he's rarely, if ever, doing it this year. Again, that's why it's so stunning. Typically, you don't go this far backwards, but he is this far backwards. And
Rob, you hear what James is talking about. And, I think that's one of the things when we were talking about where this football team could be. I was never, I go over this and give a shout out to David Aronoff because he's the reason for the lowdown with Loren Meadows. So I need to give him a shout out, even though we go at it. He was big on his, he was, really, Billy's offense, not where it needs to be. And my thing was, when there's really good stuff, you're like, man, that's good. I like that. We talked about it. Some of the zone games, some of the screen stuff is decent when it works, but it's just always like a missing link, Rob. And I think now it's filtered down to maybe not. I didn't ever think that maybe DJ was what people would call a generational talent, Rob, but somebody who easily could have been or should be a decent college quarterback.
I think the biggest problem is, and James pointed it out in linear fashion, Anthony Richardson, AR-15, Mertz, and Lagway. Who's been their head coach? Well, all 3 of them, Billy Napier. And I think, and I live in Memphis, the barbecue capital of the world, so we say, you cannot microwave ribs and brisket. And you can't take a quarterback that's a freshman and expect him to do things that a veteran guy with 25 or 30 starts under his belt is going to do. Okay, preseason, and I'm the first to admit when I'm wrong. If I make a wrong stock pick, I always tell people that's on me. But what I'm seeing is Garrett Nussmeier, DJ Lagway, and Arch Manning. They're 13, 14, and 15. Kevin Skarbinski on this channel yesterday pointed all that out. And here's Diego Pavia. The measurables, he's not some guy that's going to go to the combine and wow people, but he finds ways to make everybody around him better. He's an elevator. If you cannot elevate the talent around you and make everybody play better, you're not going to make it in the NFL. And so here we are. DJ Lagway has now 10 starts to his name in college. Arch Manning has a couple of, rental wins. He started at Texas last year. Those are horrible. But he's got 3 this year. He's regressing. I think this culture, because of the NIL money that these kids are getting, we are thinking these kids they think they're born on third base and they think they hit the triple. We need to slow down because it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And it's not just Florida, it's quarterbacks all over the country. And NIL is a big part of it. And then the coaches are scared to be tough on them because they can hit the portal button and go home or quit and do whatever and go get more money.
Yeah, I think it's like a bad stew in a lot of ways. You could point to about 2 or 3 ingredients that just aren't working. And James, one play in particular, one whole stanza. It's 10-10. I'm going to say a minute 30 left on the clock. LSU has 1 timeout, and you're tied in Death Valley at night, and you get the ball at half. Okay? I say you run the football. Kelly burns the timeout. Kneel on to 2 more. We go in the locker room 10-10. But instead, they kind of do this half-hearted 2-minute drill. And then, I don't know if you remember, you probably do, the route that DJ threw the pick on was a bad design. The ball was extremely late. And even if he completes that ball or, throws it in the window that he had, because the safety had no deep threat whatsoever, nothing to keep him deep, he was going to earhole that kid anyway and probably break the ball up. And, they might have had a stretcher. But it's plays like that come out, and it's just like, that's just a bad play design at that time. And situational awareness sometimes comes into that, where there were 2 backs there, you dump it to them, or you take off, slide, punt the football. It was 3rd and 9. You're only going to get so much. And I don't know if you remember that play, but just stuff like that stands out, and you're like, that's not good. It's just not great.
No, as simply as I can say it, Billy Napier is not a good offensive coordinator. He's not a good play designer. He's not a good play caller. And he gets outmatched in the chess game of football on a week-to-week basis, and he has for all 4 years. Virtually every game, he's out-coached, he's out-game planned, he's out-tacticked every single game. He does things that you shouldn't do in scenarios where you're doing well. Jaden Ball finishes with 10 carries and a 4.6 yard per carry average. He gets the ball, 7 catches or whatever the case may be, but it's like Billy wants to run the ball. I'm a much more of a wide open offensive guy. I don't like Billy's offense. I never have. It's not my style. I don't think it fits the state of Florida and Florida. But if you're going to do it, well, you're having success with Jaden Ball. Instead, Florida employs a committee. Jaden Ball often plays the first series, disappears until halftime. He's absolutely Florida's best player on the field right now.
No doubt about it.
You wouldn't know it based upon the usage. We throw the ball 50 times in a close game. So all these things just don't make sense. And I think, to me, it's really remarkable that he's still here, given the constant, let's call it a kerfuffle that goes on offense. It's an uncoordinated offense. And you can look at these moments and these plays and everything else, but it's really a shame, given the personnel we have, that we're here where we are. This is a good roster. This roster could make noise. There's talented players on there. And it's the strength of the roster alone that is largely keeping Florida even close in these games, where, again, they're just routinely being outcoached. And I'll give you one simple example. LSU came out early and had a really good game plan. That's largely what got into DJ Lagway's head. They were playing very modern, sophisticated defense. They were showing you one thing. It's hard to get into without film in front of me, but I break it down in the film review. But they're basically, Florida's moving a guy over to see if they're in man or see if they're in zone. LSU might move with them to make it look like they're in man. And as soon as the ball is snapped, they're switching. That's NFL level stuff. It's very complicated stuff. It clearly blew DJ's mind. But then, wisely, as the game went on, LSU figured out that DJ couldn't beat a cover 2. And by the end of the second half, they just were lining up in cover 2. It was like, here it is. And that's smart. That's good football. That's what you do. That's how you level yourself down to where you need to be. And you'll never see that with Billy's offense. We didn't see it with AR, didn't see it with Mertz, aren't seeing it with DJ. And that's the major critique I continue to have with Billy Napier. And he employs himself here. His results have never been great. He's never been an elite offensive coordinator. He got fired from Clemson. He had 1 year at Arizona State. He was not successful at Louisiana offensively. They're very mediocre. And it's amazing to me that he's hanging on to that as much as he's hanging on to that, because there are some things he does well, but I just don't think there's any defense for him being a successful offensive coordinator at this level. It's like a guy who came up from AA in baseball, went to the bigs, couldn't hit the curveball, and he just insists that he's a curveball hitter. And you're like, hey, man, you can't hit it. Let's send you back down. Go learn. No, I'm going to stay up here, and I'm going to keep swinging at every curveball, and I'm not going to let anybody pinch hit for me. And that's kind of the state of the Florida offense, I feel like.
So you got DJ Lagway. I'm going to give you the headset. I'm going to give you the whiteboard. Would you, employ the empty sets that were successful in high school? Would you go to, 4 wides to maybe spread things out, allow some of those receivers, get the tight ends off the field a little bit? I mean, what is the answer? Is this offense the what's the word? I mean, it's like the kryptonite for Lagway, or is he is he fixable maybe by, and I'm not going to say, let me rephrase, but let's just put, I'm not going to start throwing names out there because Billy Napier is still the coach, from an elite or a serviceable, let's say, offensive coordinator. Is he fixable? I've heard from a couple quarterback guys that it's not fixable. It's going to be who he is, but we see the throw to Mizell, both throws to Mizell, even the nice throw to Sturdivant, feeder set, driving the hips, nice completions, both of them right over the top, feeder set. Or is it just, it's not fixable. It is what it is, or somebody can come in and from a schematic standpoint, help this kid out.
Yeah, that's the thing to talk about. There's a couple of big things going on. One, let's start back with baseball. If you're a baseball fan at all, it's very common that players are prototypes, or they're high draft picks. They get into the bigs and they really struggle. Very normal. The first season, generally, they really struggle. Low batting average, striking out a ton. Then they start to figure it out. But oftentimes, before they figure it out, they'll get sent back down. And they might spend, a month or two tearing up AAA pitching, get their confidence back, work on the thing that's really bothering them, fix some of the fundamental flaws they have, quicken up their swing, right? So right now we can't do this, but this would be the time when you would send DJ back down, let him play against lesser competition, work on the fundamentals, let him have some wins, right? That can't be done. So in absence of that, I think for anyone who's played any high level sport, you need to get yourself, and therefore in this case, your athlete, to something that makes them very comfortable. What have they done the most reps in, right? Success is often about reps. In Billy's offense, he's had very few reps. He played last year, didn't play at all in the spring, barely played in the fall. And now he's got these games against very good competition. And so you got to give him something he's seen 10,000 times instead of something he's barely seen at all, and roll with it. Now, that's not the Napier philosophy, but that's more like, a Coach Signetti in Indiana. He'll rebuild the whole offense for what his quarterback does, because he thinks, that's something he believes in. So I think that's what you'd have to do. I'd go to DJ and say, what are your 10 favorite plays? Where do you feel the most comfortable pre-snap? Where do you feel the most comfortable reading the field? Do you want wide splits? Do you want 5 guys out there? And I'm going to do all that stuff, and I'm going to mix that with my running game. I'm going to run the ball a ton. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to go under center and run the ball some. Better play fakes, better jet sweep fakes. I'm going to keep things simple. But that's not what Billy's going to do. And so ultimately, is he broken? I think right now he's going to need to rebuild his fundamentals. He's going to need to play against, quote, lesser competition. He's going to need an offseason, I think, to fix all this stuff. I definitely don't think he's like broken forever. I mean, quarterback is a really hard position, but he's in a bad place with a brutal schedule, with a coach that, in my opinion, I'm not the only one to say this, runs an offense that is just not quarterback friendly. It is not an easy offense. People are not wide open. The throws are difficult. We play compressed and bunched up, which there could be advantages to that, but it's much harder to read the field that way. Much, much harder to read the field that way. And I think all those things are cascading down on DJ now. And on top of it, you mentioned this, Rob, with NIL money, how does he feel at night? He's getting paid a lot of money. Does it feel like a fraud? He's letting everyone down. He's losing all of his confidence. It's hard to go out there every single week and do this stuff. Is the coach going to get fired? So I think it's going to be a really tough segment. But I think, man, you got to go back right to the things he does best. You got to say, forget it. Let's scrap all this stuff. You're my guy. Let's just make you comfortable. But Billy did not do that with AR, didn't do it with Mertz, and he's not going to do it with Lagway. And that's so frustrating, I feel.
And probably his undoing. Would you agree?
I mean, you would think so. I mean, we said it a while ago. I think everyone agrees now, but at the time, people were hopeful. But the fact that he's clutched on to this play calling so hard and he's never going to let it go is mind-boggling to me. If I hired, Rob, let's say that we went and hired someone in your office that's never coached football.
Yeah.
But they were a smart person. The first thing they'd probably do is say, I'm going to get some really good football people here to coach the offense. I'm going to go find the best offensive guy. In fact, I'm going to find the guy who's best at coaching a guy like Lagway. That's what you would do. But Billy looks at it and thinks like, I'm the best guy. And the data says otherwise. And this is not a personal thing at all on Billy. It's like the data's there. Just look at the data and you'd say, let me get somebody better than myself. And I think for Florida fans, that's been the hardest thing to accept is like, why would you not just do that? But he's just not going to do it.
Okay, yeah, no doubt. And with that, we're going to bring in, when we talk about Billy, somebody who spent some time with Billy Napier, Zach Goodall of Swamp 247. I'm not sure you guys know each other, James, but say hello to Zach. How you doing, Zach?
Hey, I'm doing well. So sorry I was a minute late, but the SEC in Florida decided to drop a 3-game suspension on us at 9 p.m. at night. That's great.
Yeah, we touched on that at the Open. Jabbar Jaloo suspended 3 games for his involvement in the altercation before the game. I'm a big Jaloo guy, so I'm gonna leave it there. He's always been solid with me, but I'm sure you had to get it in, so we understand, Zach. But we're talking with James and Rob, and this is something that you could, you've been at the press conferences and you were there when Billy basically slammed his foot on the ground, I guess last week, and they asked him about the play calling, and now James breaks it down so well, talking about, what the offense has done to DJ. And, he was a little snotty yesterday too, a little bit. I heard the exchange with Graham and then with you as well. You kind of, asked a question that I thought kind of spoke to some schematics. And I think sometimes he's surprised that some of us, and me, I almost do it purposely when I'm at the press conferences, is to make sure that my question cannot be answered by character, attention to detail, being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very intentional in our process. You can't tell me that. You got to tell me,
Coach
okay,
yeah,
this is what it is. And you asked a great question and kind of break down that question and how it kind of touches on what James has been talking about the last few minutes as well.
Sure. I mean, first I'll say, not having met you yet before, James, but I admire your work. You do fantastic stuff breaking down the film, and I try and do work similar to you and having Florida fans, giving them a resource that a lot of other people can't do. One of the things that, I asked him about the overthrows, and it wasn't just that sailed interception for one, the fourth, because I know that it's tough for people to keep up with how many there were, but even like the first drive against USF, that sailed leak to Tony Livingston, the crosser week 1 to Browne. Those just, to me, like, we know how talented DJ is pushing the ball downfield from last year, from his high school career. They seem uncharacteristic. And Billy, I think, was a little bit pushy because of the ordeal that had gone down with my coworker just before that. So at first he kind of pressed back on me trying to understand what my question was. But once I laid it out to him, I actually would like to give him a little bit of credit. I thought it was some of the most in-depth he's gotten talking about X's and O's in a press conference that I've been at. Maybe it's because he knows that I'm paying attention. And I gave him the credit of DJ has made these throws before. But he got into what he saw from the interceptions. He mentioned that of the 5, there were only 2 that really stuck out to him in a bad way. I kind of disagree. I could see really 3 of them, I think in particular, were just, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see him underthrow a pass where it looks like it turns into triple coverage. I know that's what fans have kind of been clamoring. I don't necessarily think he was intentionally throwing into double cover or triple coverage, but I mean, the first one, the Sturdivant corner route, to me, that was just poor mechanical play from Lagway. And it speaks to the offseason that he's dealt with, the potential that maybe he is still dealing with something with the shoulder because he completely underthrew it. His footwork was clunky. To me, it just was not characteristic, again, of Lagway. And I think that you can point to that in a lot of these, as well as play design issues. The 1-2, and James, I think you even broke this one down too. The fourth one, the overthrow to Wilson in the end zone, I don't like that play design either. If you're going to send Eugene on that route where, he beats the dime defender at about the 17-yard point, you want to give him some support. He shouldn't be effectively thrown into triple coverage because he's got nothing helping him down the field. So and that was one of the ones that Napier suggested he was upset with Lagway over. I think that both deserve the blame at the end of the day. So kind of long story short, like I appreciated Billy being so willing to go into the X's and O's and what he expects of Lagway in those situations. But to me, I know we've talked a lot about play calling and design before, Loren and Rob, but just like I think that was an example of both. And I think you could point to that obviously beyond these interceptions so far.
Yeah, and Rob, I mean, what did we miss? I mean, we both were, I was 9, you were 10. What did we miss? Or can we get to 9? I mean, are we just fooling ourselves? And is it really going to be? Because I'm going to tell you, doing this show at 4 and 8, whew. I mean, it just yeah. I can only have James on. So, I mean, I'm going to have to stop having James on because really it's nothing to, I mean, really what we going to do? I mean, it's like I had to wait till we get a new coach, then break down that offense. But, Rob, I mean, what did we miss? What did we miss, Rob?
It's the worst nightmare I've ever seen in my career as a financial advisor is giving money to 18-year-olds. Okay, we're underestimating the damage that's being done. And also when you've got a sponsor, a booster, that's pumping a bunch of money to a particular player, let's say it's a quarterback for spits and giggles, and that kid isn't starting, you think you're not going to get a phone call going, let's hear, foghorn, leghorn, I've been giving you $2.5 million a year for this young man, and you're benching him. You put him back out there, I'm pulling my checks. And he's also giving to other parts of the university. I said this 4 years ago would happen. I'm telling you, it is happening. And I don't know if it's specifically here, but these kids, they don't hurt. It used to be, now we know, look, I was born in the afternoon, but not this afternoon. I saw it. They've always been getting money, but it was different. Now it's in your face. Kid drives to practice in a Lamborghini or a Bugatti or some ridiculous car. I know a lot of wealthy people. None of them drive anything that's not really modest. They like to drive old cars. They don't want people to know they have money. They get hit up. These kids, they're also being hit up by their friends and their family to borrow money. They got pressures on them in a crazy way. We saw this coming, and I just don't think that James hit on it. I don't think they're as upset after a loss. I mean, when was the last time we heard about how hard the kids were working with the strength coach, getting up at 5 a.m. and running stadiums and doing stuff on their own? All we do is see pictures on social media of them with all their crap that they're buying. Why don't they go to a financial advisor and invest it and have something past their 25th birthday? But I think that is a problem. And where I missed on it, and it's not just Florida, it's all over the country. We're not putting enough of a premium on how many kids on your team really love the University of Florida and love playing football and love their teammates. I think we're having to kind of pivot right now. There's no question DJ Lagway has talent, but dadgummit, man, it's just a different deal. And we, like I said, they're going to get money, but what happens when you try to bench the guy that's getting the big NIL deal? What kind of backlash do you get from the people that give that money who are also supporting your entire university? That's where I think we got a problem.
Well, that's tough. I mean, and one thing about it, they got plenty of support. And one of the biggest supporters is Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. You like that segue? There you go. Meldon Law. Good. Yeah. We won't back down. Proven and skilled lawyer since 1971. Got to spend a lot of time with the Meldons out in San Antonio with the big win. It's going to be coming up. I think it's the game. I can't remember, Merrimack or somebody. They're going to actually give away 10,000 championship rings to the Gator fans. They also have a nice giveaway for a great weekend at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Yeah, I can still call it that. Still my show. And, really, really enjoy that. And, my wife and I have been able to win a couple contests and spend some time, but, they just do a great job. If you have law needs, They're there for you. If they don't work in that particular area, they can put you in line with somebody that can help you. But they're always there for the Florida Gators as well as the Gainesville community. Meldon Law, we won't back down. I want to do an exercise here. And let's just look at it present terms. And a friend of mine who actually, he's a Florida Gator fan in Knoxville. So imagine that. And but we went through an exercise, and we went through the SEC coaches as they stand right now. And I'm going to just go through, try to get through all of them, count on my fingers. I'll probably try to do it alphabetical, but I don't think I can. And let's just say who would we put? I'm going to throw a name, their coach, and you just kind of audibly say yes or no. Is this coach a better coach? Basically, we're going to find out where Billy Napier ranks among SEC head coaches right now. Alabama.
Are we saying that Billy is better, or
we're saying yes? Better? If you don't say nothing, that means he's not better.
Okay, so say nothing if we don't think he's better.
Yeah, Auburn.
Maybe.
Okay. Oklahoma. Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
You think Billy's better than Eli?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No,
okay.
I flipped it. Yeah, I flipped it.
Right.
My fault.
Let's see. Kentucky.
Those are similar. I mean, Billy probably could do what Stoops does at Kentucky, maybe.
Okay.
But Stoops has done more.
You talking about guys that, 10 wins, a couple times. And
yeah, that was before the schedule is now.
Right. Though. Yeah, that's true.
Done more with less.
Okay.
Yep.
True. South Carolina.
That's similar too to me.
Okay. Got 9 wins though, first year. I mean, I know it's
He did. Schedule though. Billy might have had 9 wins if he had if he had Missouri's schedule for one of those years, he might have 9 wins.
Yeah. Okay. So right now we got him 13th out of 16th, maybe. Right now.
Yeah.
13 out of 16. Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
No way. No
Clark way.
He's got to be a star right now.
Okay. Mississippi State.
I would take
Levy better.
Over Napier.
Okay.
Yeah, I would take
Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss. Nope. Tennessee. Nope. Who else we got left? Texas. A&M.
You haven't said Georgia yet.
Well, that's Georgia.
It's a given.
There we go. Yeah, that's a given.
Total given.
So we got him roughly 13th out of 16. So, obviously the clock's ticking, things like that. But I mean, is that a byproduct of where Florida is? Or, I mean, can somebody come in and fix this thing? Get it back on that person is there. I mean, this is kind of our hyper have at it. Is that person out there that can get Florida out of this cyclical failure in the head coaching department? Like I talked to somebody today that's really close to like the NIL and things like that. And I said, well, I think Dan Mullen could have been pretty good in this area, with the transfer portal. You're not necessarily recruiting, but you're recruiting, but there's money involved. It's kind of like courting free agents. And they said, absolutely not. He wouldn't even have done that. So, it's been a cycle because I'm still stunned. I don't know about you, James, because I didn't know, but I was stunned that Mullen didn't work out from a system standpoint, schematics. I thought he had done more with less at Mississippi State. I'm still shocked that he's not the head coach. But what is it now that Florida is reduced to the 13th best head coach in the SEC? Anybody, feel free.
He underperforms and underwhelms the talent that he has. And James talked about it. Sure. So did Zach. This roster is probably, talent-wise, 9th, 10th on the blue chip index, 4 and 5 stars in a 4-year cycle. Hell, Auburn's 11th, and they are in the worst 5-year cycle since after World War II. Maybe they'll be good this year, but I mean, Florida, you gotta. I just think the team's taking on Billy Napier's personality. I know he's a hard worker. and I see a lot of good things about him. But every coach works hard. But I just think that, it's a sign of, Kirby Smart talks about the biggest thing that'll destroy your culture, your locker room, is a sense of entitlement. And NIL, we better be very careful. We're going to have to structure this and give them contracts, incentive-based. You eat what you kill. Put them all on commission. They don't win, they don't get paid.
Yeah, no doubt. James, I mean, you went to school there, you live here. I mean, what is it? I mean, what is it that we need to get out of this cycle? Is it somebody like, because what worries me is everybody wants, for instance, everybody wants Lane Kiffin or everybody wants Gruden. And then 4 years from now, it's 2029. And now what? I mean, I said to somebody, you better be careful or you'll be Virginia Tech or you'll be Auburn. Yeah. Florida better be careful or you'll just be always searching for that next statue, that next great guy. I mean, what is it, James?
Yeah, my philosophy is a little bit different. I've created something called the 3-year test, which talks about coaches generally prove their worth within 3 years or less. And really, you probably ought to have the mindset you should be cycling every 3 years. And the few elite schools, Florida's one of them, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, etc. They are always one coach away, period. Florida's one coach away. It's the right coach away. A very simple litmus test for this is to imagine any coach in their prime, take Nick Saban in his prime, insert him into Florida. Do we think Florida starts winning? Absolutely. And there's certain schools you can put him at, he probably wouldn't win. You put him at Maryland, does he win a title? Probably not. Makes him really good though, right? But that's how you know. So Florida's always one coach away. So to me, you have to be willing to hire coaches. There's not a perfect formula. If you look at some of the best guys now, they were assistants who weren't head coaches before. Look at Dan Lanning, look at Kirby Smart. But then again, Florida hired Will Muschamp. We whiffed there. Florida's hired 3 head coaches already now, right? They took Jim McElwain. They obviously took Dan Mullen. Now we took Billy Napier. There's not a perfect science, but I think part of the problem is you cannot have a scarcity mindset. Florida can't look around and say, what if it gets worse than this? That is the wrong way to look at it. It needs to be probability-based. You're taking your shot. The data says a school like Florida, you want to hit on your coach. You hit him, you take him, and you go for it. And so I think to hold on to a guy who's mediocre, that data would tell you that you're probably never going to win. And we said that last year when Strickland made the bet to keep Billy Napier. I had said this message Strickland's giving is a total bet against history. Nobody that had performed like Napier has ever won anything of significance at a school in a Power 4 conference. And they've never done it. And so here we are with Billy. So I think you have to throw that out and say, there is no such thing as the revolving door of coaches. And I'll give you one simple example, Alabama. Alabama fans think that they're so great and glorious and their school's so awesome. Well, I was in school and then also alive when they were sucking for a long time.
Yes,
they were cycling coaches. They had a coach who wasn't even there for more than a few minutes, right? And then Nick Saban comes in. And what happens? They go on this major reign. And now what's happening? They're coming back down to earth. So there is no school that's invulnerable. God bless Ohio State. They've been so good for so long, so consistently. But if you live long enough, it'll happen to them too. And so I think in general, you just cannot be afraid to hang on to coaches that aren't productive. I think you got to go through them. You got to find the ones that win. When you get one, hang on to them for dear life. But in my mind, Florida should not be afraid of who they hire next. And it's not a good argument to say, well, what if they fail? The odds are they're going to fail. The odds are these major coaches are going to fail. You hope you hit the right one and then, reload and go again.
Yeah. And I mean, in my lifetime, that was John Cooper. I'm a little older. So for Ohio State, there was John Cooper and, there was John Cooper. But Zach, Billy Napier, just in the press conference. I mean, you saw him, you're there up close. Is it just like, okay, I'm gonna stand tall, or do you really think that he feels like this thing can get fixed and they are a few plays away? He said 10 plays. I know he likes to do that, or, and that'll kind of get us to another hyper have at it. Can they go down and get after it down in Miami Gardens or wherever the place is and cover or make this thing interesting and get a win?
I mean, any coach that gets up there and repeats, because it's not the first time he said something like that they were 10 to 12 plays away or however many plays away, it tells you everything you kind of need to know, that they're always 10 to 12 plays away, but 10 or 12 plays can make or break a football game. And Billy Napier is who he is at this point. You guys talked plenty about the offense before I came on, I'm sure, but he gets in his own way. And I think his reluctancy to give up play calling and coordinating the offense is a perfect example of that. And he's going to go down with that ship. I'm sure that there's part of him that realizes the writing is on the wall here. And maybe there's an aspect of him that, I think he's very loyal to a fault. And I don't know if he's going to just give this up now and have someone else go down with that ship, because one way or another, they're all going to be gone. If we're being honest, it's just the way that this is trending. So with that in mind, like the way that this is going right now and the way it's trending paired with what Miami's doing, I see no shot. I have yet to formulate an official prediction for this game, but I don't think this is going to be close. And to me, that is what ultimately brings this to an end. I know there are concerns about players opting out if they were to fire Billy Napier after 4 games, and maybe they would want to wait until that red shirt window is done. So I could maybe see it being before the Georgia game if that's how they operate. They've proven that they do operate like that, waiting a little too long to pull the trigger. But I don't really know how you can put Billy Napier back out there on Monday after what very well could end up being a game that gets totally out of hand on Saturday. The downward trajectory continues.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're going to get to Hyper Have At It as well as our kicks of the week. If you're down in Miami this weekend, you're going to see your boy in these, the Jordan 4s. Still trying to get that sponsorship with GOAT, StockX, holla at us. But we'll be there with the Jordan 3s on, ready to roll. This is you like these, Rob? These special for you.
How many pairs of shoes do you have? I've got my Danner Trail shoes.
I'll count one day and let you know. My wife says 250 plus. I don't think it's that many, but
Imelda Marcos had over 3,000. So you're not even close.
I'm not even close. No.
Okay.
But let's go quickly. Hyper Have At It. If it's hype, no way. If it's have at it, then maybe it might happen. Hyper Have At It. We'll go around. Rob, real quick. Hyper Have At It. Lagway could outplay Beck this weekend.
No.
Hype. All right. Zach?
Hype. Big time.
James?
Yeah, based upon the offense that he gets to run. Hype.
Hype. All right. Anyway, the Gators cover 7.5. Rob?
If the bubonic plague strikes the Miami football complex, yes.
All right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope they do.
Yeah. Zach?
Nah, it's hype. That defense is we thought that LSU was able to keep Florida's offense in check, and they got in their own way for sure. I think that this could be rough.
James?
I'll say have at it just because Carson Beck is still Carson Beck, and yes, the offense is way better. I think they're going to make it friendly for him, but hey, we saw what he did last year when he was on Georgia's roster. So if he does that again, the game will probably be close.
Okay. Anyway, the Gators can go 6-2 the rest of the way and keep it 8-4 and maybe keep Billy's job.
I don't think you even need to go around.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Have at it.
That is insane.
And this is for James. Florida can return to prominence in the next 3 years. So I would say James.
Absolutely. Have at it. And also, just really quick, here's the thing. We didn't get to talk about this. We're going to talk a lot about this moving on to the second half of the year. But I would argue now, with the salary cap, if it works even at all, rebuilds are going to be instant. Because you can't do what Ohio State and Texas have done and stockpile all these players. You can't afford them anymore. You cannot have a $35 million roster, which means that you're going to be more in the NFL model. Take your 3 or 4 guys you want to invest in. Those are your guys. Build the roster down from there. You're just not going to have this tremendous roster turnover. There's not enough money to go around based upon the cap. So, yeah, you're one guy away. It's going to become more about the X's and O's, more like the NFL and who you invest in, hit on the guys you pay. I think the turnarounds can be very quick, especially at a school like Florida where there's still a lot of talent in state and a lot of guys will be interested in you. And for the love of God, please get a coach that runs an offense that suits the state and the fan base. That's all that I ask.
Yeah, no doubt. My sleeper, I got my sleeper, but we'll wait on that one. Zach, same thing, think?
Yeah, of course. To the points that James made earlier. And I think this roster, I still believe in its talent right now. Obviously, this roster is not going to look the same if a new coach comes in, but Billy Napier took the long approach. I would hope that this time around they hire someone who's not going to do the same thing. It's in this day and age, you should be able to flip it quickly, and especially if you've got someone that runs a modern day offense. I think that helps a lot. I think that can build in at some advantages for you, especially as it pertains to recruiting.
Rob?
Get the right coach in here with all the resources you have at Florida. Absolutely, you can turn it around. And I'm with you. You're going to start seeing like the Olympics, 4 or 5 people at most of the schools getting a lot of money, and everybody else, they go do a little autograph, or maybe they get some free tires for their truck or something. But this is all about the flip. We're on the other side of that bad stuff. I really believe it.
Right, no doubt. And before we let you guys out, we got to talk about Titan MRI and Imaging. Titan MRI and Imaging has 3 locations, 2 in Gainesville with its Park Avenue location, now at the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI and Imaging offers the same great customer service, now accepts insurance or through their convenient self-pay options, MRIs, CT scans, x-rays, and ultrasounds, larger MRI machines for patient comfort, no ERs, no hospitals. Titan MRI. It's your choice. Who we got on the show tomorrow, Rob?
We start with Barry Trammell, legendary sports writer, the Tulsa Star, talking Auburn, Oklahoma. Will Gunner, the game in Columbia, South Carolina, Gamecocks and Mizzou. And then we'll have Dudley Dawson up in Fayetteville talking about their game with Memphis. And then Vince Ferrara, licking the wounds from Tennessee. Where do they go from here? That great show. These guys are brilliant, as are you, and our producer, of course.
Yeah, James. Shout out to Brendan Martin, super producer. James, where can people find you? If you're not watching James, you need to. It's solid. It's a great way to take a look back on the good, the bad, the ugly sometime. But James does a great job breaking it down and really fair as well. So but let people know, James.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me. It's always great to be on here with all of you guys. But you can just search anything you want to search on any medium, the Gator Nation Football Podcast or GNFP, and it'll pop right up, and you can get the pod, you can get the film reviews, and other content as such.
And you break down the defense as well, right?
Oh yeah,
Most of the time.
I break down both sides. Yeah,
absolutely. And Zach, what we working on? I know you had the Jaloo thing tonight. Tell people where they can find you and maybe what we got heading into the Miami game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking this will piss people off, but I've got a wedding this weekend, so I don't get to attend this. My coworker is going to be there. Shout out Graham. But all my stuff's over at Swamp247. Throw the important stories up on my Twitter at Zach_Goodall.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, fellas. This was a great show. Sometimes we find things to talk about, but when you got good people to talk about it with, it always makes the show great. So really appreciate you guys having on. James, I know I kept you longer than I told you I would, but appreciate you sticking around with us, man. Great content, and appreciate you guys definitely. And as always, we'll see you next week, recording live from somewhere. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, honored to be on. Thank you.